Welcome back to another episode of the Braun Performance Rehab Podcast, powered by ISOFIT and Firefly Recovery. ISOFIT is my go-to for all things isometric strength training. For more on ISOFIT, be sure to check out isofit.com. Episodes like this are made possible by Firefly, the official recovery provider of the Braun Performance Rehab Podcast. For more on Firefly, be sure to check out recoveryfirefly.com. This episode is powered by Dr. Ray Gorman, founder of Engage Movement. Learn how to boost your income without relying on sessions. Get a free training on the blended practice model by following at Ray Gorman DPT on Instagram. Elle Beanie, welcome to the podcast. I'm super excited to work with both of you today. For people who aren't familiar with you and all the amazing stuff you're doing in the women's soccer space in the college sector, would you mind filling them in a bit about who you are, where you're from, and all the amazing things the two of you have going on?
Yeah, my name's Beanie. My real name's Brianna, but somehow it turned into Beanie. I'm from Dexter, Michigan, which is it's right outside Ann Arbor. So I've been a Michigan fan my whole life. Coming to Michigan, I didn't necessarily think I'd end up there, but I'm so glad I did. It's been a dream coming here. Yeah, we started a TikTok account. Obviously, the whole college landscape, like for athletes, has completely changed with the development of NIL, and we're trying to figure out ways to make a name for ourselves. And so it was half more of that and half just like, why not? It's kind of funny. So we started posting on that, and yeah, to go from there.
Yeah, I mean, similar backstory. I'm from Bloomfield Hills, Michigan, so like an hour out from Ann Arbor, and I went to high school at Marian, which is a smaller private school, and yeah, I kind of got here just like recruiting like most people, and wasn't sure that Michigan was my number one until I visited and was like, wow, it's a no-brainer. But like a lot of my family, like immediate and extended, went to Michigan, so it just felt like an easy decision for sure.
Absolutely. No, that's awesome. I think it's great how y'all are kind of local to the area, if you will. Beanie, you mentioned that you grew up a Michigan fan, and now you're obviously playing and representing the school and the university and all the great things that are going on there, obviously. I guess I'm a little curious because I work with a lot of athletes, as we were talking about, and one of the things I've noticed amongst the high school athletes in particular is they're always super stressed out when it comes time to pick a college or pick a university. And a lot of them, in addition to that stress, they'll kind of decommit, they'll jump around a little bit. And overall, it's just very difficult to know at the age of like 17, 18, 19 years old, where you want to be for the next 4 years from a sports standpoint. I'd love to hear more about what that process looked like for the two of you. How are you able to kind of sort through all the different options that you had and decide that, hey, you know what, this is right where I want to be? And what kind of things do you feel like you can kind of give as advice to the other athletes that might be kind of in where you were a couple of years ago?
Yeah, I'd say the biggest thing is just keeping an open mind. Like that day that June 15th going into your junior year hits, like that's when you can start talking to coaches. And I think that's just like a huge thing for me, and that like my club coaches told me, it was like talk to everyone, just like hear what they have to say, even if you're like, oh, like what is this school or whatever, especially because coaches are changing like all the time and you never know where they're going to end up. So you want to keep those relationships really good. And then just throughout the process, like once you can start taking visits, I think that's huge. Like seeing the school and getting a feel for like, could this be home, I think is huge. And then just kind of sorting through it. Definitely, I would say it's tough to like discern between schools at times, but I would say that like for me, just like I said, once I got here, I was like, oh yeah, like this can be my home for the next 4 years. I think it just kind of is a feeling, but
Yeah, I would say something similar. Like I definitely went in talking to every coach, regardless of whether I thought I could see myself at that school. Yeah, A, because maybe you could see yourself at that school and you'll be surprised, but B, because it's a good idea to keep your relationship strong. And whether that coach ends up at your dream school or they're best friends with the coach who ends up at your dream school or anything like that, you're not going to want to burn bridges, especially in the college soccer landscape. Everything is so connected. And also I just think having a clear idea of your priorities and knowing what really matters to you, whether that's like you want to go to a school where you can go to fun football games, or you want to go to school that's academically very rigorous, just knowing what matters to you. in holding strong in that, because it can be tempting to go to the school that just won a national championship, but then 2 years later when you get there, they're bottom of the conference. So just knowing the things that are going to be more steady throughout your experience, like the school itself and like the academics and all of that, and just staying true to that. And then I think also don't put too much pressure on it, because I think I could have gone to any of my top probably 5 schools and been very happy. So just be loyal and stick with your decision if you can. I mean, obviously there's nothing wrong with you committing if you do it the right way, but just don't second guess yourself.
The two of you are so freaking wise. My goodness, I love that. And the thing that comes to mind for me right now is how we talk all the time about how sports teach you so many of these different lessons that you can apply the rest of your life, and you can't get them anywhere. And I think you just outlined the majority of them so well, right? From the concept of loyalty to the concept of building and maintaining relationships to the concept of really finding happiness and being able to find happiness anywhere, as long as you know what you're looking for, what your values are, and those are in line, are really, really powerful things in my opinion that way. And as someone who, is not necessarily from Michigan, I've actually never been to Ann Arbor before. I really need to make a trip up. What's so unique about the area to you all that way? What is it that you love so much about Ann Arbor that way that maybe is different than other places, other university, college towns, and that sort of thing that way?
I would say like the pride that surrounds the city itself is, so I've never seen matched. Like, it's crazy. You'll be at an airport in literally Japan and someone says "Go Blue" when you're wearing your sweatshirt. You're like, what are you doing here? It's like the reach of the fan base or just supporters is just unreal, which is cool like in an airport, but it also has a practical purpose when you're trying to like find jobs. My sisters are both graduates, and just like the alumni association is far reaching and incredible. And then I'd say the other thing is like similar to Elle, when I was on my visit and I went to a football game and I walked into the big house and seeing tens of thousands of people supporting the same athletic program that I could play for one day, it's really cool. So yeah, the pride around the city is really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I like entirely agree with that. And then also just like the city itself just kind of has a bit of everything. Like being here, I love the city feel, but also like you walk like 10 minutes and then there's like houses and neighborhoods. So it's like, it's just like it has everything you could want. And then I also just like, I'm definitely someone who loves to like walk to get food, or like the walk to class is so nice. And just like in general, the atmosphere and like the environment and the competitiveness, both academically and just athletically, it's like the perfect balance of everything for sure.
Elle, you brought up my favorite conversation topic, food. What are the good spots around Ann Arbor? What places do we like and recommend to people?
There's a lot. Like the food is good.
Yeah, you gotta have like a couple weeks here to go to everything. I say Fria Potatoes.
That's a big one. It's like its
favorite.
Yeah, like they have like really good burgers. That's like their big thing, with like you can get like a fried egg on top, and like they have fries. That's so good.
They have shakes.
Yes.
Yes.
No Thai, a classic good Thai place.
There are a few spots, like there's a place called Sava's that's right downtown, like on State Street, which is like the main street through campus. And it's like the food's really good, but it's also just really cool because it's in the heart of campus. And that's usually where like we take recruits, because it's just a cool spot. You can't go wrong.
Yeah, we have like good Mexican. There's like everything, like honestly, but it's all like quality too.
Yeah, as someone who always brings the big back energy, I freaking love all of that. So I'm very much here for all those things that way. And it's so funny to me because everyone I've worked with in the sporting space so far, even though we all love to train and get fit and, play sport or watch sport and all that way, I think one of the things that goes hand in hand with it is good food that way, right? Like when I was at the Courage game a few weeks ago, like I was telling you, when I walked in and saw they had unlimited food and drinks, I was like, my goodness, we are set. We've got good sport. We got good food. Life is good. So there's something powerful about the combination of the two, at least for me that way. And obviously it sounds like there's something powerful about the combination of the two of you as well, right? Elle, you play forward. Beanie, you play midfield, if I'm remembering correctly. So do y'all have some kind of connection on the field, or did you ever play against each other or with each other off the field when maybe y'all were like growing up, going through high school, that sort of thing?
Yeah, in high school, we never played really with each other, but against each other, because our teams were in the same club conference. And we didn't we kind of knew of each other. And then once we both were committed, we like had the awkward, like, hi. But After that, we trained together a little bit before coming here, and then now in the summer we actually play for the same summer team, so that AFC Ann Arbor. So that was good for like building some chemistry coming into this season for sure.
Yeah, we definitely have a lot of chemistry. I feel like yesterday we had an exhibition, and when we were on the field together, we were like, it's just like AFC Ann Arbor. Like Elle said that, and I was like, yeah, it is. And yeah, we had some good link up, I would say. And obviously off the field, we're very close friends, so it helps.
What was that like going from playing against each other in club matches and that sort of thing growing up to being on the same team as one another that way? Because I'd imagine that's quite a shift going from competition, because I'm assuming the two of you are highly competitive people that leave it all out on the field. So what was that like from going from that era to the teammate era, if you will?
It's definitely weird. Like in club, I mean, they can be like the best person ever, and if they're on a team that you play, like you have to hate them. So it's like it's weird when I get to like my first day of college and my roommate is like, "Oh, that girl was the best on like Liverpool. Like, what am I supposed to do now? I have to be friends with her." So yeah, it's definitely a mental shift. But I mean, at the end of the day, once we're on the same team, we have the same goal. So it's like now I can. It's nice not having to defend her.
Yeah, no, it's like funny to look back on because now we just like me and like the rest of our class and like team, a lot of us have like played each other just like among the 30 of us, but we just look back and are like, it's so funny how we like literally would be like, I hate that girl and like she pushed me and like whatever, she's the worst. And now it's just like, that's like my best friend sitting at school.
Absolutely. And obviously you can play against other schools, and then transfer portal happens, and then some of those athletes you played against now become your future teammates. So it's certainly an evolving process that way. And one of the other things that really stood out to me when we were kind of getting to know each other is, correct me if I'm wrong, but Beanie, you didn't play high school soccer for like the school. You played club, and I think you represented the national side of things, abroad that way a little bit as well, which is absolutely incredible. But it's interesting because I've seen a shift where more and more athletes are maybe getting away from playing for their high schools and just doing club and some of these different development programs like ODP and playing abroad and so on that way. And it certainly seems like the skills that you develop from doing that are really unrivaled. Is that something that you did as well, Elle? And I'd love to hear more about that kind of process of, hey, I'm going to grow up playing soccer. I'm going to grow up and immerse myself in this sport, but I'm not really going to play for my high school or middle school team or that sort of thing.
I think there's kind of a lot that goes into the decision of if you want to play for your high school. Like for me, I played high school my first 2 years of high school and then was injured at the end of my sophomore season and then decided from there just to like focus on recovery and play club through the rest of my like high school club career. But I definitely liked my time playing high school. My freshman year, we won the state championship, and then sophomore year, made it to the state championship, did not win. But like it was a very good high school team, so that was part of my decision. Like if the team's gonna be good, I want to do it because that's just the biggest thing of like I wanted to make sure I was still playing high level soccer because there can definitely be a disparity between club and high school for sure. I don't know. My club team also was the kind that like cuts off halfway through the year for you to be able to do both. And Beanies wasn't that way. So it just depends on kind of where you're at club wise too.
Yeah, that was probably the biggest part of my decision is that my club team was essentially year round, so there was no time to play high school. I could have like dropped to the second team, which was I believe 6 months, and then you can play high school. But I knew that for recruiting purposes and just being the best player I could be, I wanted to be in that top pool of players. So yeah, I decided to forego my high school seasons, which I mean, it was never really in the picture, so it wasn't really something I had to like grapple with, but it was also a little bit tough because I did see how much fun it would be to represent like your high school and play with your friends and like my high school classmates obviously knew I played soccer, but they'd never seen me play or anything. I was like, it'd be so much fun to be able to play with you guys. And I started out playing for it was called Dexter Soccer Club, and I was like, it'd be a lot of fun to play with those teammates again. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't the biggest deal. I did consider playing another sport in high school just to kind of get that experience. I think I went to like one field hockey practice. It was like their conditioning day. I was like probably never going back. And then I thought about doing lacrosse, and also I just like I'm a soccer player. It's just probably not gonna work. Yeah, it was not like the biggest deal to me. I don't know.
You know, as someone who played high school football and senior year, we went 2-9. I was always a little jealous of the people that win state championships and stuff that way. Elle, what was that experience like for you, for those of us that maybe didn't get to experience winning a state championship? And then Beanie, for you, I'd love to hear more about what it was like kind of playing internationally growing up in soccer that way.
Yeah, the state championship, it was so cool. I mean, that season, it was my freshman season, was a really special one because just going into it, I was so scared, didn't know what to expect. But I kind of was able to just step right into my role at the nine center forward, and then just go from there. And the seniors and everyone on the team, it was just such a tight knit team, and we had really good chemistry throughout the season. And I just thought it was it just blew my blew me away at how tight knit the team was, because I was always told oh, the seniors are scary, but no, it was definitely it taught me the right way to run a team. And getting to college, it's just similar in that you think of it a hierarchy, but it's no, you can make your culture very family and that was a huge thing throughout the season, was the family. And then just getting all the way to the state championship, it was kind of just we won that game 3-0, and it was just so fun, so cool. Definitely one of the best days of my life. Yeah.
Okay. For ODP, I started out doing it just to kind of hear a different coach's perspective. I would say I really respected my club coaches, but obviously there's no harm in hearing what another coach has to say. So it was just some weekends you would have an ODP training, and gradually it started out as just a Michigan thing, and then if you make the Michigan team, you go to the Midwest team. If you make the Midwest team, you go to the national team. And so yeah, I remember one year I was super bummed because I finally made it to the national pool, and then COVID happened, so the whole thing didn't really happen. And then we made it to the national team. It was really cool. It was me and two of my club teammates who had gone all the way from Michigan to being on the full team. And we went down to Dallas and played in the Dallas Cup, which was awesome. And just playing with people from different areas. I was actually just talking with Elle yesterday. I was oh, this girl on whatever team, she's so cool. I don't know. I never would have met her if I hadn't done this ODP thing, which didn't seem super impactful at the time, but just the relationships I got to build and getting to know new people was awesome. And again, hearing a different coach's perspective, because one coach will tell you one thing and another coach will tell you something completely different. So it's just interesting to hear. And then for the futsal thing, it was kind of a hard decision. It was in the spring of this past year, and they brought in a new coaching staff, and they wanted to bring in some new players to the pool. So I had about maybe 24 hours to decide if I wanted to miss a bunch of school and finals and stuff and go to Costa Rica to train with this team. And I was I can't really pass this up. It sounds awesome. So yeah, it was really cool. It was very interesting. The players I was with, they ranged from one my age or younger to fully having kids, and I was wow, this is very different. But it was really cool, and they were much wiser than I was, so it was very cool to learn from them. And the resources of U.S. soccer are just incredible. So yeah, it was a great experience.
That's one of the most impressive things I see in the sport of soccer is you can have someone who's 16 on the field the same time as someone who's 40, and they're both playing the same game, but they play it with a slightly different style. And it's so unique, in my opinion, that way. And it sounds like the two of you have gotten to travel some incredible places because of the sport of soccer that way. Where have you really enjoyed traveling? Any places that were really noteworthy, or trips that were noteworthy, and places that you just can't wait to get back to that way?
We just took a team trip actually to Sweden and Denmark at the end of the spring, yeah, back in May, and that was really cool. It was such a privilege to be able to go, as a whole team and staff. And I don't even know what else. We played 2 games there. We played a game in Denmark and Sweden, both against pro teams, and that was really cool to just see their style and the soccer culture abroad. And we got to do a ton of exploring, and it was just so cool to be able to do that as a team.
Yeah, I second it. That was an awesome trip, and they did a great job of we got to see the countries, and we got to do touristy things too, which a lot of times I feel you go somewhere but you feel you never left your hotel. So they definitely did a good job of balancing that. And then I would say the other place probably my favorite place I've been is Japan. We went there in club. We played in a tournament, or just like a bunch of mini games against different Japanese teams, and it was incredible. The culture is like completely different, obviously, and just like we would bow to each other before and after the games, and just the amount of respect that was shown, like for I don't know what we did to deserve it, but it was incredible. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that sounds amazing. I love that you get those experiences like that. And I'm sure it's just awesome for you all to be able to go different places, whether that be Japan or countries in Europe and beyond that way, and get to experience that. As someone who travels a lot, even on the bad trips, the trips where it's like, oh, shoot, I'm delayed 12 hours or my flight got canceled and everything just seems to be going against what you planned, it still turns out to be such an incredible experience. And I just think that there's nothing bad that comes with traveling that way. Even on the trips that are kind of horror stories that way, it is always so fun to me to hear about other people's travel experiences and where sport might be taking them and the doors that are opening up to them because of their involvement in sport that way. Because it's one of those things, going back to what I mentioned before about how sports teach you so many things, they also open up so many opportunities for people. And it's like, would I be here today if it wasn't for my sport and the things that came from it that way? So I think it's absolutely incredible that you all get those experiences that way with your team and so on that way. And it sounds like you all have an absolutely incredible team, incredible group of people. And earlier, Elle, when you were talking about your high school soccer career and the state championship run, you talked a little bit about that. There's good chemistry. You were taught the right way to run a team, great team culture, and a real family kind of feel and vibe to the whole thing that way. I'm interested for the two of you who have obviously played for different teams and obviously now at the highest level of women's soccer at the NCAA level that way. What do you feel like makes a good team, or what kind of things, if either of you go into coaching in the future, what kind of values are you looking to instill in that next generation to put together like a really solid team that way?
Good question. It's a very good question. I would say competitiveness is kind of at the heart of it. It can sometimes, it needs to be channeled the right way, of course, but if you don't have that drive to win, then there's not much else that can get you to put in all the hard work that's necessary to win. I think the things that are difficult, it's hard when someone's playing not for themselves, but because whatever, a parent wants them to, or because they want to be seen being on the team, but they don't truly love the sport, which it's obviously none of my business. But I just think the most successful teams I've seen, it's these people truly love soccer and they have an intrinsic drive to win, because that doesn't falter no matter the circumstances. So I think, yeah, that's at the heart of all the hard stuff you have to do, is finding joy in it.
Mm-hmm. I think the shared values is huge. Just everyone has we have this goal or these goals and everyone's on the same page is huge. Because then there's if there's not the buy-in, then you're really not going to get anywhere. And then also I think it's really important for just off the field, team bonding is so important. And we have made a point the last couple of years for our team to get here 2 weeks before official preseason starts and just have captain's practices paired with a ton of just team activities and bonding to get to know all the newcomers and just make everyone feel welcome and comfortable. I think that is really huge because off the field chemistry is definitely just as important as on the field.
Quick break, because if you're a rehab professional sick of burnout, this could be your answer. Engage Movement's blended practice model is a proven system built by Dr. Ray Gorman, a PT who walked away from the 55-hour-a-week grind and built a blended practice model that doubled his income while working less than 25 hours a week, and he didn't have to rely on the traditional way of selling sessions to do so. It's all about blending remote and in-person services, stacking monthly recurring revenue, and building a business that finally supports your life, not the other way around. This model isn't just theory. Real providers, including myself, are creating lives of freedom and flexibility without being tied to their schedule. And as a listener, you get free access to the complete training. DM my name, Dan, to @RayGormanDPT on Instagram and receive your free breakdown on the model. Absolutely. No, I could not agree anymore with that. That is so well said. And it's one of those things that's always interesting to me, just being on the outside, on the private side, and hearing these different patterns that develop. And in fact, we literally just did a podcast with it, with 3 different individuals who used to play collegiate soccer that are now all on the coaching side, and just talking about how their playing experience impacted their coaching frameworks and the values they try and instill. And a lot of the points they brought up were very similar to what the two of you said, but I realized one of the things we didn't discuss in that episode was where that competitiveness comes from, right? Because obviously, in order to get to the highest level, it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of sweat equity. You have to have this kind of like dog in you, right? Like even when I was working with Marley on the podcast earlier this year from UNLV, it was like, look, you're like Marley and me, except the dog in you never dies, right? Like there's something special about the competitiveness that you all bring to the sport that way. Where do you feel like that comes from? Is that something that you kind of like just always had, or was that something that was really instilled upon you by a certain coach or individual that way? Because it seems like some people have it and some don't. And the ones that have it, my goodness, you are like, you're just running over any obstacle in your past.
I would say for me personally, I grew up playing a lot of soccer with my brother, and there's kind of a natural like sibling rivalry in that. Like you want to be the best in your family, so that kind of drove me to be more competitive. And then I also think just like my general outlook on life, like the way my family raised me as well. Like if you're gonna do something, you might as well take pride in it and be great at what you do. Like I don't see any point in doing something half-heartedly. So I think just it comes from wanting to be great at whatever you invest your time in.
Yeah, kind of similarly, my brothers, I'm the youngest of three in my family, and I was always just like wanted to be like with my brothers and like keeping up with them. So definitely just like competitive in everything we did. I don't really come from like a huge soccer family, but my parents put me in like every sport, and I always was like just a sports person, like doing everything I could. And then when I tried soccer the first time, we all were just kind of like, whoa, this is the one. And then stuck with it and just kind of like, again, not a soccer family. So kind of, I think I had a lot of really good coaches that kind of like taught me the ways and like showed me what it takes to get to the highest level. And once that image was in my mind, I was like, yeah, I'm getting there no matter what. So it just kind of was really like the environment I was in, I think, was always a competitive one, and it just stuck with me.
Beanie, it sounds like you came from a very soccer-focused family that way. And Elle, what you just mentioned sounds like, hey, we're going to become a soccer family because of Elle that way. What other role do you feel like your family's played in helping you get to this point in your soccer careers that way?
I would just say just constant support. Like once I decided like soccer was what I wanted to stick with, I still did do like some of the other sports, but once it came time for me to choose like soccer is what I want to focus on. My dad's a basketball guy. I had to give up basketball. He did not. Definitely broke his heart a little bit, but he definitely was like, no, like you're gonna ball out in soccer. Like I understand. So definitely just like the constant support from my family was huge.
Yeah, I would say something similar. I think one of the biggest factors was that my parents never cared if I played soccer. Like they supported me because they knew I loved it and they wanted me to be the best at whatever I did, or whatever I wanted to be the best at. But I think like whenever they would give me advice, which was truly like very few and far between, they would like preface it with being like, I'm saying this because I know that you want to be the best you can be. But if you, like my mom's told me, if you want to quit soccer, I like do it. Like I'll love you still the same. And obviously I never wanted to, but it's just like the lack of pressure just kind of makes it more fun. And it's not like I'm like, oh, I need to make my parents proud of me. Like I know they'll be proud of me. So it's at that point, it kind of takes off the pressure and helps me to play more freely. And then, yeah, they've just given me every single resource I could need to succeed, whether it's driving me to training or supporting me through like the ridiculously expensive club soccer fees and travel and all that, just being there for me, but without the pressure.
Absolutely. I love that. And I think there's something special about that environment where you don't necessarily have those same family pressures that, to your point, makes it so much more comfortable and easier to succeed than someone who maybe has that constant pressure or this like fear of failing, if you will. It's like, I have failed so many different times in different endeavors. Elle, I know you're a business major, and it's like some of these business things I've tried and, embarked on. It's like, well, that didn't work. But if you just throw stuff against the wall, eventually it starts to stick and you still get where you want to be from the value of persistence. But it's like if you have this pressure that's on you so heavily to the point where you're afraid to mess up any one little thing, it certainly impacts your outcomes and your performance, I would think, in the sport that way. And I think that there's something special about that family support with whatever you're on, whether that's the soccer career or, as you mentioned, they're willing to support you even if you're not playing soccer. There's something special about that. And there's something unique about the support that I've seen in the sport of soccer that I very rarely see in other sports. I've seen families that are driving like 2 to 3 hours one way for an hour-long practice, and then they've got to drive it back. And they're up until, midnight driving their kids home from soccer. Kids are sleeping in the car. They're shelling out thousands of dollars for the clubs and the travel, and they're always on the road and all these different things. Like, it is just incredible to see the dedication that families have to this sport that way. And it's just hard to compare it to many of the other sports that I see that way. There's truly something special, in my opinion, about the sport of soccer and kind of the community feel of it that way. Obviously, we've talked a little bit so far about kind of where you've been, kind of the background and the upbringing within your sports that way. We've talked a bit about where you're at right now and the amazing community of Ann Arbor where you all are at that way. What is the future looking like for the two of you that way? Obviously, we've got a new season coming up that way. What are kind of the cornerstone things for you all this season that way? And what kind of things are you looking at even maybe beyond this season, if you will?
Yeah, I think we have big goals for this season. Obviously, you want to maximize our team's talents, and I think we have a ton of talent on the team, and we're all very bought in and have met several times about our goals for the season, and we just want to be the best team we can be. And if we do that, we'll be satisfied. I think beyond that, I've always said, like, I want to keep playing soccer as long as I enjoy it, and I still am enjoying it so much. So if that means like playing pro, that's definitely the goal. I would love to like use it as a way to see the world and just, I want to be the best player I can be. I'm not gonna like, I don't know, that's my goal. So just being the best player I can be. And I like you said, like, I don't know, the amount of support in and around the soccer world that extends like even beyond the club atmosphere, and the relationships that I can use or that I can build through it are just amazing. So yeah.
Yeah, honestly, perfectly said. I don't have much else to add. Just, yeah, I mean, this season, going for championships, and then beyond that, yeah, just playing at the highest level possible, for sure.
For those that aren't familiar with professional women's soccer and NWSL and so on that way, would you mind filling them in a bit about what that process of playing professional women's soccer looks like and what that journey might entail for the two of you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, I don't, well, you might know the process more. I feel like since you haven't really gotten there yet, I'm not really sure how it like always goes, but I know, I mean, it used to be for like the NWSL, there was a draft, but they recently got rid of that. So I think now just kind of like when you're done with your college career, however that looks like, I know some people just like graduate early, or some put their college career on hold and then go or finish like the normal pace. But now it's just about like getting an agent and then kind of finding the best place for you.
Yeah. I'd say the same. There's obviously the landscape's changing a lot, and like there's the USL Super League, which is comparable to the NWSL at this point. So the opportunities are definitely growing, and I think we're lucky to be coming into this atmosphere at this point, because 10 years ago there wouldn't be the same number of opportunities. And then, yeah, I think one of the bigger decisions is whether you're gonna stay domestic or go like abroad to play. Like, my neighbor and childhood friend Ava Gattino is playing for PSG in Paris, and I just think that's so cool. And she gets to live in Paris and speak French and do all the French things. So like, I don't know, that's awesome. That's definitely a dream of mine.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's so amazing to see the growth of some of those opportunities, both, nationally and internationally. I think of an individual who we worked with on the podcast maybe 2 years ago or so, Luke, who, was a really high level D3 football player in the US, kind of the best D3 football team you can think of, and ended up getting an opportunity to play American football in Europe, in Germany. And he was like, this is amazing. Like, I get paid to play a professional sport. I can continue to play the sport in my later years and so on that way. And I think it's amazing to have opportunities like that opening up, and the growth and expansion of those opportunities as well. Because as you mentioned, it's a difficult road, a difficult journey to get to that professional level, the highest level possible that way. But it sounds like the two of you have everything that it takes to get there and be successful that way. And that's something that I cannot wait to see as well, just the continued growth and evolution of the sporting scene in general, whether that be at the college level or the professional level as well. I'd love to hear more about how the two of you have been able to kind of like, maybe, you can't really stop the waves that life might be throwing at you right now, but it seems like the two of you are certainly surfing those waves with a lot of success that way. How have you been able to stay so successful with the changing landscape of college sport, professional sport, and so on that way?
I would say just like it's obviously, yeah, the landscape, like you said, is changing so much, but the sport itself isn't changing a whole lot, and just kind of putting your head down and working regardless of like your future goals. Like I know what I need to do today to get better and reach my goals, whether that's going and training on my own or doing some like recovery here at the hotel or whatever it might be. Just like knowing what you need to do day by day to reach your goals and not getting too bogged down in like, oh, this is in like a couple years, I'm going to be doing this or this. Like just knowing what we need to do day by day to get there.
And especially at a school like Michigan, I feel like we have so many resources to just always stay on top of things, like whether we're feeling overwhelmed, like academically, or just like on the field, like feeling sore. Like we have such good facilities, and then just like with school, we can get like tutors and like we have an advisor, and it's just like we're surrounded by so much support and resources that kind of help us surf those waves, as you said.
But no, that was really well said. And I love that you two have been so dedicated and committed to that process, and obviously committed to some TikTok growth as well. For people who want to find the two of you and the rest of your squad on social media, where do they find you all at online and all?
The TikTok username is soccersavages67, and then otherwise on the socials, just like, what am I? Elle_Ervin11 on Instagram.
Yeah, my Instagram is just Marian Harshe.
That's awesome. We'll link to those in the description below there. If you didn't quite catch them, you can just click there and see everything Elle and Beanie and the rest of their squad are up to. Which one of you came up with the idea for the TikTok, by the way? I love that.
Like the TikTok itself, the account.
It started as my like old account.
Yeah.
And then I think we all one day were just like, we need to get our like names out there, and then decided to just make it like a fun shared account. So yeah, it was like a group decision.
We love that. We love a good group consensus. And it's interesting because I don't see too many people doing what you're doing, where it's like, hey, you know what? Instead of just like going at this by myself, I'm going to get like multiple members of my team together. We're going to run a shared account, and we're going to kind of give insights, and maybe some of them get a little silly sometimes. Y'all dance way better than I freaking do. My goodness. But like, there's something really cool about that. And I think it gives this next generation of soccer athletes such an amazing look at kind of what the future might hold for them. And on top of that, just going back to that competitive side of things, it's like, if you know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, that you can play at the highest level, you can have fun with your teammates, you can really have a good team culture, good team environment, you can win and kind of have all the things, have your cake and eat it too, so to speak. I think that just kind of pays the game forward, if you will, when the next generation gets to know what that light at the end of the tunnel is and looks like, and that all those long, hard hours are paying off for them in the future. Beanie, Elle, I realize we covered a lot of different things and jumped all over the place. Is there anything we missed as we were talking today, or anything else the two of you wanted to share kind of about yourselves, your backstory, and this incredible journey that you're on because of the sport of soccer?
I would say you kind of touched on it, but just sports in general, the lessons they can teach you are incredible. Like we've talked about, it was after the beep test this year, we were like, the emotional highs and lows that we've had through this sport, I feel like are just like the highs are high and the lows are low, but it teaches you like emotional regulation and grinding out like the lows and all that and enjoying the highs. And I think just like you're going to experience hardships and realizing that those are shaping you for the future, especially when you're in college. It's like you'll get through it and you're stronger because of it. And it's something I'm still learning, whether it's like having a hard conversation with someone or doing a workout that you really don't want to do. those will benefit you in the future, regardless of how they benefit you, like, or how you feel that day. So I think just finding value in that can really help you grind it out.
Mm-hmm. Going off the hardships, I'd say a big thing I learned is dealing with injury, because I had an ACL and a meniscus, separate surgeries, and along with probably like 15 other girls on our team right now. And just like learning how to like go through that, and then also just getting here where, again, like I said, like so many girls on the team have gone through the same thing. Just kind of like, I don't know, just kind of like getting here and then being at the level after going through that, and just like having this support group of all of us who have gone through that is really cool. And just like looking back and seeing your progress and growth, it's just like, I don't know, definitely like a lesson to learn. Just like I can get through things like that. That's really suck. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I end up meeting a lot of athletes because they're facing some of those hard things, whether that be ACL injuries or ankle injuries, or I've had a knack for getting some of the strangest foot injuries I've ever seen. We've seen like 6 or 7 lace frank injuries in athletes, and I've worked with some with like hip issues. Like the list goes on and on and on. But the one thing that's common amongst all of them, as you mentioned, is it's challenging to come back from that. It's challenging to have to go like 9 months, maybe even 12 months sometimes without playing a sport that you've literally played for as long as you can remember that way. It's just very difficult and challenging physically, mentally, emotionally on all the fronts that way. What kind of insights do you offer based on your own experiences for those athletes that might find themselves facing challenging times right now? Maybe that's related to injury, or maybe it's related to something else as well. It's just, hey, sometimes things might not be going your way, but you're still an athlete. You still have to find a way to persevere, so on. What kind of advice and insights do you offer for individuals that are going through those things?
I'd say a big thing that helped me was finding a sports psychologist to talk to. That was huge. And like here at school, we have that as a resource if we ever need it, but also just like back home, like when I had my injury was back in high school, like there's a ton of those around. And my guy like really helped me out and just like put me back in the mindset of like I can get back on the field and be the same, if not even better than the player I was before. So I think a lot of it comes down to just your mindset. And I think there's a lot of people that can help with getting your mind right. And also just like online or like people you talk to, there's just so much that can help you get back into the mindset of like, I'm capable of being back on the field again.
Yeah, I don't have the same experience, so I can't speak to that. But I think just for hardships in general, I would say, yeah, the support around you is crucial, whether that's your family or friends. Or I've found journaling to be a super important part of my life. Like every night, I need to just get out the journal and write down some thoughts that are bouncing around in my mind. And I think a lot of times it helps you to like rationalize some things that you might be thinking that are affecting you mentally, but you don't necessarily realize it. Like there's one level below what you're really like voicing. So I think that's super helpful. And then it can also help you realize like why exactly you're doing things. So like whether it's, like I said, a hard workout you don't want to do, and then once you write it down, you're like, but as a result of this workout, whatever, I'll feel better later in the day. I'm working towards my goals. I'm learning to grind out things I don't want to do. So I think, yeah, just getting some of those things, at least for me, onto paper can really help get them out of your mind and just help you see them, have a more positive outlook.
Yeah, it sounds like a mindset shift or a bit of a perspective shift is really helpful. And to your point about writing it out, that's something that I used to do anytime I had to make a hard decision. It was like, I just need to see it all in front of me. I need to visualize it and kind of lay out, pros, cons, all the different things that way. And I certainly agree that that's helpful. And to your point, Elle, having the right people around you can certainly make or break your process of coming back from something catastrophic. And I think it's important to note, like you said, you can come back from it better and stronger than you were before. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of time. And I think going back to that concept of perspective shift, it's like if something terrible happens to you for whatever reason, it's a matter of how do I shift my mindset to this process of, hey, this is a time to step back and kind of reassess and figure out where do we go from here, right? A lot of athletes that I've worked with use the time that they're injured to kind of audit some of their own kind of behaviors and habits that way. So there's one individual I was working with in particular who was like, yeah, this made me realize that maybe, sleeping 3 or 4 hours a night and trying to perform at a D1 level maybe don't go hand in hand together. Or, hey, maybe me going out on weekend benders after every game day isn't necessarily the best for my physical recovery when I'm in season that way. So it's really, I think, empowering to see how people take terrible things that have happened to them and find a way to turn them into something for the greater good. And I think that if you can do that, and that is kind of your default mode when you're recovering that way, I mean, you're really limitless and unstoppable, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely.
Again, for people who want to find out more about the two of you, drop those Instagram handles, TikTok handles, LinkedIn handles, whatever y'all got that way one more time, just so they can, make sure they follow you and all that sort of thing. And obviously, if anyone's got some NIL opportunities, I think they should maybe call you up, hit you up with those.
Oh, for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah. Soccer Side was just 6'7" on the TikTok, and then Elle_Ervin11 on Instagram.
And then my Instagram is Marian Harshe.
That's awesome. We'd love that. Elle, I really appreciate the two of you's time and for all the insights and everything that you shared today. This was awesome. Thank you so much for everything.
Of course. Thank you for having us.